All right, well, we've talked before about the push to remove David Koch from the Board of Trustees here at WGBH. Recently, that crusade found its way to a story in Harper's, which was lobbying wider criticism at public television generally. It's no surprise PBS took issue with the piece, but the way it responded may not have helped the cause. WGBH News reporter Adam Riley has more.
It's become a familiar sight here at WGBH. Protesters gathering in front of the station to make the case that David Koch doesn't belong on the Board of Trustees because of his skepticism of global warming.
And they won't get a dime from me so long as David Koch remains on the board.
This Harper's piece starts with a similar scene describing an anti-Koch protest at WGBH last October. But author Eugenia Williamson has a broader argument. She claims PBS is politically compromised, writing, "The only special interest group PBS clearly favors is the aging upper class, their tastes, their pet agendas, their centrist politics." Her evidence includes PBS's refusal to distribute the documentary Citizen Koch.
The Koch brothers own refineries that specialize in some of the worst types of oil.
Williamson also hints that Koch could damage Nova, the science show produced here at WGBH, though she gives no proof. And she barely mentions Frontline, another WGBH production that might undermine her case.
In the last election, few seemed to doubt that climate change was real. But since then, a successful campaign has been waged to introduce doubt about the science.
After the Harper's piece ran, the New York Post reported that PBS had pulled ads for its new documentary, The Roosevelts, from Harper's in retribution, prompting a flurry of negative coverage. PBS distribution disputes that account. Whatever really happened, the back and forth may have given Williamson's piece more attention than it deserves.
Now that is the truth. No one would be talking about this if PBS hadn't overreacted. So Justin, Adam Riley confirmed this afternoon that PBS did indeed pull those ads. They denied it to us, but he confirmed it. In fact, they paid for one that didn't run and a free one. So they had two more coming. They were running in October, November, December. So they did pull their ads out of that and causing all this attention to a piece that probably nobody would have been talking about.
Well, I think it's dumb to play that game. I mean, you're obviously extending the life of a story like this when you retaliate that way. It seems really petty for an organization like PBS to do something like that. As far as the merits of the piece, I mean, I think that when you look at the changes to PBS, I think you also have to take into effect sort of how TV has changed overall, looking at how audiences are changing, how audiences' appetites for programming has shifted over the years, and the fact that TV is different than when PBS started so many years ago. That's not to say it's right or wrong that they show things like Downton Abbey or Sherlock, a show that I personally love. But at the same time, you know, PBS is still producing Sesame Street. It's still got a connection to lots of people and provides education and entertainment. And so it seems silly that they would do something like this in response to a piece that, you know, frankly would have been read by the people that read Harper's, which it should be pointed out is pretty difficult to read if you're not a subscriber.
People watch PBS.
The only people that read Harper's are the ones that have subscriptions. You can't read it online unless you have a subscription. I think that should tell you pretty much about the type of people that read
I thought
Harper's.
the piece was snarky. I didn't read the whole thing because it was long, but it was snarky. And I'm also tired of people, you know, beating up on the same group. You know, the retired, you've got a quote coming up later about people who wear St. John suits or something. It's like, you know, it's such a cliche. And by the way, everybody wants to have a niche audience. Everybody does. And that age group is still spenders.
Well, you know, the audience, to Justin's point, is all niche audiences now. And what you want is to couple them together, you know, to bring them to programming. And two programs that always do that, aside from Sesame Street, are both Frontline and Nova. And what has been demonstrated, because we had the discussion about the pulling of the money from Citizen Koch, is that Koch's presence on the board here has not influenced Nova's ability to say climate change is real. So that needs to be said for people who are concerned about that. That doesn't mean that the people standing outside protesting don't have fears about it and should not express it, and loudly, as they worry about looking at how corporations are coming together, coalescing around one or two entities, that this could be a concern, even with public media. Having said that, we also talk all the time here about when somebody takes a swat at media in that way, in an obvious sort of I'm taking my ads away, not only does it cause more attention, it's just not effective. You want it to be effective, right? And to your point, Harper's the people who read Harper's, will they know? I mean, you want it to be effective.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
You know, it's funny. I mean, I'm going to sound very old school here, and maybe it is the wrong call, but my instinct would be, you mess with me, I'm going to mess with you.
Yeah.
You know, why should we continue?
But don't you want it to be effective?
Well, yes, you do.
I mean, if I
want it to be
smack you, I want you going down.
I know, wait a second. But they're taking it out on Harper's. Harper's just ran a piece. They didn't write it, they ran it.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, and Harper's is going to survive this too. But it's like, well, you know, why would we support a publication that's going to be trashing us? I like your attitude, though, eye for an eye. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, obviously,
but then everybody ends up blind. Let's not forget that.
And obviously, I'm wrong because, as you said, the piece has gotten far more attention than it would have otherwise. But that would be my gut instinct.
All right.